Came right off.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the school committee meeting of December 13th, 2017. As we start all meetings, I'd like to remind everyone this meeting is being broadcast live, and it's also being recorded for use at a further date, so keep that in mind. I would ask you to please join me for a moment of silence. Thank you. Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We're going to jump around a little bit, as we always do, to try and help some of the people that are here that have to work tomorrow. I'd just like to remind you with some dates to remember. The 14th of this month is a capital meeting in Whitman at 4:30 at the Whitman Town Hall. The 25th of September, there's a regional agreement amendment committee here at 6. On the 4th of October, there's a policy subcommittee meeting at 4 p.m. here. On the 18th, there's a facility subcommittee meeting here at 6 p.m. before the school committee meeting. And October 18th, there is a school committee meeting at 7 p.m. So try to keep those dates in mind as we move forward. As I said, I'm going to move around a little bit to try and get some people in and out that have business to do, school business for tomorrow. Fred Small is also participating remotely. Fred, can you hear me? Fred?
Take yourself
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. So any votes that will be taken this evening will have to be taken on a roll call basis. Okay. We need to approve the minutes of August 31st, 2017.
Motion.
Second.
Discussion? Robbie? We have to do a roll call vote because Fred's here.
Abstaining.
Abstain?
Yes.
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 Fred?
Abstain.
Okay, thank you. We also have something new that we have to approve all warrant subcommittee meeting minutes, which would be if anyone comes in for a warrant subcommittee signing. And entertain a motion to accept.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All those in, Bob?
How does that work if you're not on the subcommittee?
It's under Mass General laws.
All right, I just wanted
It
to-
has to be done.
Okay.
There are really no committee report, but because we have a warrant subcommittee, it needs to be approved.
Okay.
And this is something that's actually being looked at under municipal relief. And when they looked at how school committees approve warrants, there were some modifications made, so it wasn't quite as labor-intensive as it is sometimes. However, when that legislation was made, it only applied to school districts that were not regions. So MARS, which is our regional organization, is now working with the legislature to try to change that so that we don't have to go through all of this. But at this point in time, in order to be in compliance, this is why Michelle had to put this together.
Okay.
Anyone else? Robbie?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
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 Fred?
Yes.
Unanimous, thank you. Okay, we don't have a student advisory report this evening. I am going to jump right down to new business and ask Mr. Simonak to please come forward. He's going to propose a schedule change for PSATs.
Briefly, sorry for the delay in this schedule change. My team and I met at the opening of school, and on October 11th, we're administering PSATs to all sophomores and juniors, a practice we started about 3 years ago. And logistically, proctoring 600 examinations with a full building for 3.5 hours is a challenge. So we brainstormed some solutions, and one of the solutions is a proposal to the school committee today is that we allow freshmen and seniors to come to school late that day. It's a delayed start for them. They'd arrive at school at 10:30. Buses would roll as normal, But that would allow us to actually proctor an exam for 600 students with a full load of teachers and a quiet building, without passing time, without bells going off, and actually get some good data for us. I'm not sure if you're aware, but the PSAT right now is one of the benchmarks or data pieces that we use for college and career readiness. So we look at the data. Our PSAT scores and SAT scores have been flat, so what I'm looking at is to see if we make a change when students actually can take it and really take it seriously. We might improve or actually see some benefit to that. I don't think the seniors or the freshmen will be upset by coming in at 10:30 that day, but we'll actually see who rolls in. We're going to run a delayed start just like we do. If students have to take the bus, they'll be housed in the cafeteria. We'll actually serve them food, and we'll go back to our regular scheduled period 4 at 10:30 if the committee approves this.
I'd entertain a motion. This needs to be voted because it's a change in schedule. I'd entertain a motion to accept as explained by Principal Simonak.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
When have they been taking this?
So College Board, a couple years back, suggested that schools across the country administer it on a school day instead of a Saturday. It's still offered in certain areas on Saturdays. We don't do that anymore here. So schools on the South Shore right now tend to offer it on that Wednesday as a school day, where all students are in school. Some of the schools in the area do the same thing that what I'm proposing right here. Plymouth is one of the systems in the area that actually offers the SAT and PSAT for all students. So they offer a freshman examination, grade 9, a 10th and 11th PSAT, and they require or ask all seniors to take the SAT during the school day, and the district pays for that. So it's something that we've looked at. Finances are challenging, so we look at the PSAT. I cover the cost of the PSAT for these students. And like I said, we've gotten some pretty good results. I think with a change in schedule, we might get some better results and actually have kids who want to make it more of a valid assessment.
Is it mandatory that they take it, or?
It's not mandatory, but it's highly, even if you choose not to go to school, a 4-year school or 2-year school, it gives you a good idea of what type of career or tech school you might want to go into. So it's a good assessment. And on Saturdays, again, as College Board made that recommendation, fewer and fewer kids were taking it on Saturday morning at 7 o'clock.
Anyone, excuse me, anyone, Robbie?
Do you think we can get to the point of doing the SATs in?
I think we'd get a better benchmark of how well our students do if we gave it during the school day. It's expensive. You know, it just
How expensive? Throw a number out. Yeah.
another 300 kids, $12, $15 an examination. PSAT kicks back some money for us for free and reduced students. Okay. And a couple years back, they actually kicked back some more money the more students you had take the exam. It was a federal program, and the Fed has chopped that down little by little. But I don't want to give you an inexact figure on the SAT because I'm not prepared to do that.
That's okay. I'd rather do it during the day than on Saturday.
I think, we are a testing site for SAT anyway, so as things move towards the future, I wouldn't mind proposing that as an assessment for us.
Thank you.
Discussion, any further discussion? Robbie?
Yes.
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 Fred?
Abstain. I could not hear clearly.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Small is participating remotely, so anyone that speaks this evening, please speak up if you could, and we'll try to get this done with as much expedience as possible. Also, we have NFP Senior Director Ken Lombardi here. He's going to present some information about employee health insurance. Thank you, Mr. Lombardi, for coming this evening.
And the committee has information under their nameplates.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Please speak up, Mr. Lombardi.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me this evening. Again, Ken Lombardi from NFP. Our firm is a national insurance advisor, and
Do you want to ask Fred to make sure he can hear?
Yeah.
Fred?
Yes,
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
I can't hear him. I'm just gonna hang up.
Okay.
Yeah, because he is speaking into the microphone, but it's not coming
And
through.
there's no sound coming from it.
Okay.
So, okay, so the gentleman on the phone can't hear me? Okay. So, okay, let me kind of go through the information. Again, Ken Lombardi, NFP. Our firm specializes on providing insurance health plan management for cities and towns and regional school districts in Massachusetts. And the reason why we're here tonight is to kind of give you an update on how things look with the health insurance plan, some considerations that are being evaluated for fiscal year 19. Just by way of quick background, the school district's health insurance plan is currently provided through the Mayflower Health Group, which is in the state of Massachusetts referred to as a joint purchasing arrangement. Right now, there are 34 other municipal employers that are participating in that healthcare trust, of which the school district is one of them. Over the last several years, there's been some concern raised by member communities about the financials of the trust. In essence, the trust fund is ultimately the insurance company for all the participants that are in the plan. And of note is the fact that on July 1st of this year, July 1st of 2017, so fiscal year 18, 4 large employers have left that healthcare trust fund. So a risk management perspective, there should be some concern and continued management and oversight as to how those financials of that trust fund continue to be managed, because what's happening is there's a decreasing enrollment, and what ultimately is the likelihood, although not concluded, is that the remaining members might actually have deteriorating claims experience, which may ultimately cause some rate increases larger than otherwise anticipated in the future. And the theory being is that employers leaving that healthcare trust fund were able to secure better financial arrangements outside of that particular engagement. So as a result, communities looking to make sure that their healthcare costs are being managed properly are looking at all options. So we do know that 4 employers have left: Hingham, Situate, Abington, and there was one other, right? But there were 4 large communities that have actually gone. So the information that I put together in front of you today, sort of like an outline or agenda of discussion points, talks about whether or not the school district's health plan should remain under the current arrangement. Should it consider other options? What is a JPA? Who are they? What are available in the state of Massachusetts? Why you would become a part of one, or why you would not want to be part of a joint purchasing arrangement. But ultimately, so I've got some talking points here to kind of review. But what we have started to look at the direction of the business office is we have obtained claims data on the particular health plan provided through the Whitman Hanson School District, and covering the members under the multiple plans that are offered from Mayflower Health Group. And what we're doing is analyzing whether or not the claims data suggests a better financial arrangement for the school district through another arrangement, another joint purchasing arrangement, or by themselves. So that process is going on right now. There's been some preliminary analysis. There's no conclusions being drawn yet. We're not here to make any statements as to what a recommended direction would be. We're just merely going through the process. We do suggest, though, that at this employer size, which is roughly 300 to 400 subscribers, that there's a potential that there should be some flexibility, either looking out on your own or looking at developing a partnership with some other smaller communities. One of the things we really would like to suggest is that building a JPA should be a manageable size, so maybe no more than 7 to 10 communities ultimately. The other JPAs that our firm manages, we try to kind of keep that at about 8 to 10 employer groups. It seems to be a manageable number. Maybe one of the negatives, if you will, and again, I'm not drawing any conclusions here, with Mayflower is that it's so large, it may be very difficult to manage effectively. And one of the things that we want to focus on is making sure that any recommendations being made as a result of the analysis maintains the current benefit plan structure as integrity as completely as possible, while limiting any potential disruptions from any recommendations. So those are all being balanced as we look through the analysis. We will tell you, though, that I do think with continued trends in healthcare, that's not a surprise. The potential that we continually have other large employers within Mayflower departing in the future that the committee, through the direction of the business office, needs to be well aware that at any point in time, the remaining members could be seeing some rising costs that become very unmanageable. This last year, I think, Christine, was a 16% increase. So that's on the upper end of trend, if you will, for all the cities and towns and school districts in Massachusetts. Benchmarking with the state health plan was roughly 4 to 5%. There were benefit plan modifications, but I think in any community, targeting single-digit rate increases is obviously the goal, and even that's a difficult challenge financially. So we're here to tell you that we're undergoing this process. We'll report back to the business office and provide some direction and counsel at that point in time. Any questions, folks?
Anyone have any questions for Mr. Lombardi? Kevin?
Yes, sir.
Your statement that the 4 communities that left Mayflower obtained a more favorable arrangement, do you have any more information on that?
Let me give you what I know. The town of Abington is one community that has left and was able to develop a more favorable rate structure than currently enforced with Mayflower Health Group, and that was based on their actual claims data outperforming the average group that was in Mayflower. I believe Hingham and Situate, and I think there's one other group that has left. One group did join the state health plan, the Group Insurance Commission, so at that point in time, the claims data is irrelevant. The state doesn't evaluate an organization's claims data for acceptance. It just merely allows you to join the plan. I believe Rockland was another community that left and went to Blue Cross Blue Shield directly. What we want to be mindful of is that any recommendations will have an impact, and I won't say it's negative, but we do know that, for instance, some of these communities would have had to have jettisoned one of the plan options. Currently, we have multiple plan options between Blue Cross and Harvard Pilgrim. So any of these communities that left would have to have agreed to just go with one of those plan carriers, if you will. So that's about all I do. I do know that the Mass Interlocal Insurance Association is a carrier that agreed to underwrite, I think, the town of Situate at one point as well. I don't know if that's enough information.
Yeah, no, so basically the pattern was they left and they went in different directions. So, some joined another group, some did not. Okay.
That's correct.
And each outcome was favorable to the community, from what you can tell.
Yeah, the logic, if you will, and none of these are guaranteed, quality outcomes, because you won't know until the year is expired. But the theory is this: is that the marketplace is who we go to for carrier quotes. Blue Cross, Harvard, Fallon, if you will, Tufts Health Plan. They dominate municipal groups in Massachusetts. Their underwriting teams are going to evaluate claims data, and they're the ones who are going to make offers or representations to each of these communities.
Right.
They'll be the sort of the deciding factor as to whether or not you remain where you are or you go in a different direction. I mean, we certainly obviously need to discuss things like contemporizing the healthcare plan down the road as well. It's just a question of where the basic, starting point is in relation to where we are today.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Boyce?
Thank you for your time tonight. I was on the Whitman Finance Committee for many years, and I remember about 10 or so years ago, the big push was, well, everyone should go with the GIC and jump into the GIC. My mom was a retired Whitman Public Schools employee, and she was in Mayflower for years, but it didn't seem like anyone sort of went with the GIC and so forth. Why can't they just all combine? I was also on the Mass Municipal Association for many years, and would go to those meetings and see them all set up at the conference and everything, and why don't they all combine? Or is it a matter of, like, I often kind of compare this to people when they give to a charity these days. They want to know the administrative costs. I mean, obviously all of these are Biden for, the mighty dollar and so forth, and there's administrative costs that they pass along. It kind of sounds like also with Abington stepping out and making their own deal with Mayflower, maybe they say, hey, it's just before you go out the door, hey, you don't want to buy this car today? What is it going to take for me to get you in this new automobile? So I'm not kind of putting the street talk out there so much, but I'm just trying to get a few ideas straight.
No, some fundamental issues you kind of raise with the larger the size of the group and whether or not that's a better arrangement for the district. So the economics of healthcare, first off, our health plan prices for this size employer are based on our actual utilization. So there isn't a premium rate that an actuary grabs out of a book and says, here's the rate I'm going to charge you. The sum of the cohort data gets kind of averaged out and projected by a trend factor into the future based on actuarial projections, and that's the cost. So it's based on the 300 members here. The State Group Insurance Commission isn't necessarily going to save anyone any money. It may. We do have communities that we've represented and we have assisted to move into the Group Insurance Commission. We have communities that have joined Maya. It's whatever fits for that organization at that point in time. So collective bargaining, plan design structure, the utilization, the health of a particular organization, are the wellness plans working better here than generally through the state? That's what kind of drives whether or not our costs should be developed appropriately. We would like, in this geographic area, other employers, because of the utilization patterns, likely, geographic bias, if you will, to be in the same pool. We wouldn't necessarily want to join forces with the city of Boston, or Somerville, or Charlestown, or my other clients, the towns of Wakefield and Winchester. The utilization patterns are significantly higher utilization of the teaching hospitals in Boston. So they use those facilities like we use community hospitals locally. That's not a cost we want in our package. And that's sort of happening today. That's why we say the bigger the organization, we're not necessarily saving anything. In fact, some of the GIC rates are actually more expensive than the plans that are offered here. So the unintended consequence of that option today might actually cost the district more money. So it is complicated. I wish we had a simpler explanation. And all of us know that there is tremendous uncertainty in healthcare. And that pricing discipline that we're seeing is a direct impact of that. And so no one really knows what Obamacare is, what's going to happen from that perspective as well. And that all kind of goes into the equation.
Rob?
I guess the best way for me to ask this, are we comparing apples to apples if a teacher, administrator, whoever has Tufts, that's still an option for them, that you're comparing Tufts through Mayflower versus Tufts through your organization, or Blue Cross?
Yeah.
From one to Blue Cross
Sure.
to the other seat?
Yeah, a little bit of detail. So the two plans are Blue Cross and Harvard.
Okay.
And what we would do is we would take the claims data from Mayflower and present it to both carriers directly and say, okay, can you charge us what that rate would be based on your direct underwriting? Because right now, the carriers don't underwrite the health plan. Mayflower Health Group is the insurance company.
Okay.
They're the ones who kind of set out the pricing. So we're not really relying on the recommendations entirely from the insurance companies.
Okay.
So if we have an opportunity to see if the carriers will give you a better price, then that ought to be considered.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you, Mr. Lombardi.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, superintendent's report. We're getting back on track.
Okay, thank you very much. This evening, it is my pleasure to introduce you to Rosamond Dorrance, who has joined us this evening. Rosamond is going to be the interim administrator for the 2017-2018 school year. As you know from our meeting when we met 2 weeks ago, Rosamond worked in the Whitman Hanson Regional School District from 1972 until 2000, and due to a long commute and family considerations, then moved to a school district closer to her home in Wilmington and worked in the Tewksbury Public Schools, where she was an administrator there. She retired 2 years ago and relocated to Hull. So she is now back where she belongs on the South Shore. Rosamond has begun working with us just this month of September. Attended the leadership meeting yesterday. However, she won't really be here officially until October 2nd. She'll be working Mondays and Tuesdays. Of course, if Monday's a holiday, we'll readjust, and then one additional day that week. So we're excited to have Rosamond here, so I thought it'd be nice if she could say hello and tell you a little bit about herself and sort of what we're looking towards for the school year. So welcome.
Thank you, Ruth. Hello, everyone. I, number one, want to thank you for your confidence in me to fill this position, interim administrative position. Just being here for the past couple of weeks, I understand that no one can fill Patrick's shoes. And I'm the first one to admit that. I don't know how you do it, but you do an incredible job, and you have done an incredible job. As Ruth mentioned, I started my career in Whitman, and it was before the Whitman Hanson regional, district came about. And so I was part of that whole experience of joining the two towns together. And I was at the Holt School. We're talking about closing a school in this district. I closed the Dyer School, and you're all too young to even remember that, but it was the school that I think now the Whitman Library, that's the site of the Whitman Library. So I had the unique experience of closing that school, and in Tewksbury, I had a lot of experience in closing different schools and redesigning schools. So I feel confident that I can help the district out in closing of the McQuon. It's not going to be easy. And I think earlier somebody mentioned that there is a financial cost to closing a school, and there certainly is. There certainly is. And there's an emotional cost to closing a school. But as I mentioned at the leadership meeting the other day, the hardest thing is deciding to close. And you've already made the hardest decision. And it will all work out. And I'm good at holding hands, and it will all work out. As Ruth had mentioned, I spent many, many years here. I was so proud to be part of the Whitman Hanson Regional School District. It was very hard for me to leave, as I know it is for Pat. But sometimes family issues come, and it's important to put your family first, which I did. And again, moved to Tewksbury and had a lot of wonderful experiences in Tewksbury. But I am so happy to be back in Whitman Hanson. And I've said to Ruth so many times, this is an incredible school district. And I don't know if everyone sitting here realizes, because you've been here probably a long time, but having gone out and looking at different districts, you just can't compare Whitman Hanson to other districts. It is truly, truly amazing. And I am just, again, so happy to be back. I'll do the best job I can. It's not going to be easy, 2 and 3 days, but I'm here. I'm here to help, and I'm here for the district. So again, thank you so much for your support, and I look forward to moving ahead. So thank you all.
Thank you, Rosamond.
Congratulations.
And of course, as Rosamond mentioned, the downside, of course, is that Pat Dillon is leaving us. Friday is his last day, but we know once you're a Panther, you're always a Panther, and we just are so appreciative that all Pat has done in the 26 months that he's been with us. Clearly, many changes in human resources, making us more efficient, better at what we do, better at taking care of staff, and clearly has brought his expertise in safety and security, presented yesterday to our leadership team, and we will continue the good work that he's done for us. So we wish him all the best in Mashpee, and we don't want him to be a stranger to us. So thank you, Pat, for all that you've done. So I was asked at the last meeting to report on where we are with personnel. And when I went through the list, and Michelle and Pat have worked on this all summer long, and at this point in time, and this is including everybody, everything, teachers, cafeteria, groundskeeper, long-term subs, we have 47 new hires. Now, that does not mean 47 new teachers. It means we have 3 new administrators, Kyle, who you've met this summer, Kyle Riley, Assistant Superintendent for Student Services, Anthony Branco, Assistant Principal at the Conley School, and Mary Beth Tabaji, Assistant Principal at the Duval School. And if you remember, Mary Beth was an interim for us for the second half of the school year last year. But what we also have, in addition to the administrators, we have Rosamond joining us as an interim administrator. We have 14 new teaching positions. So the 47 includes also, we have lots of long-term subs this year for a variety of different reasons, primarily one-year leaves for maternity, that type of thing, but 14 new teachers. So happy to answer any questions. All of our new hires, whether they're new to teaching or have been teaching for a number of years, are assigned a mentor. They attended an orientation program that I talked about at our last meeting. And if they are a beginning teacher, they have the opportunity to take our induction program, which is a 3-credit graduate level course taught by Patricia Tokars and provides credits through Fitchburg State College. So that's where we are today. Any questions about personnel? I'm happy to answer them. So,
With reiterating what you just said
yes.
about these 47 new people, these are not 47 new hires.
No. Well, they're 47 new hires, but they're not 47
New
teaching
positions. New positions.
Actually, none of them are new teaching positions. They are new people in positions that were vacated either for retirement, resignation, variety of things. So,
Well, the reason I ask that is sometimes in transition,
or translation,
it gets
yes.
confusing and people think that we had 47
Right.
new positions.
No. But we often have many, that would be interesting, wouldn't it?
Yep.
But anyway, that's where we are today, and this is constantly changing, as anyone around this table can tell you. New things happen every day. But that's where we are at this point, and I think that's, we've hired some excellent people, so I'm excited about that. The next thing is it's that time of year for me to present my goals to you for the 2017-2018 school year. So for this meeting, I prepared a packet for you that has a cover letter, which I'll review quickly for you. It has my goals, and what should come actually before that is the self-assessment. So I'm just going to review a couple of highlights from my letter to you. When my goals are formulated for each school year, I pay very close attention to our strategic plan, our strategic objectives in that plan, and our 3 pillars of success. And as you know, the first one is every child, every day, with students with healthy minds and healthy bodies. The second one is a cohesive PK-12 longitudinal system of teaching and learning. And the third pillar, safe and secure schools. So as my goals are put together and as we look at the goals throughout the district, those are the pillars that we build them on. We also have individual action plans so that those goals can actually be achieved. We've worked on action plans for this current school year. We'll be doing a lot more with our consultant. If you remember, Lori Likas has been here to visit us. She likes Whitman Hanson so much that in spite of the fact that we really should have cut the apron strings with our consultant a while back, she's going to come back and do action planning with us in early October, because she really is interested in seeing this entire planning process go from where we were in 2014-15 to where we are today. There are a couple of things going on in the district I want to draw your attention to before we get started on this, and one is radar. And you may recall that we worked on radar last year as a pilot district. We're now moving into the second year. Radar stands for Resource Allocation and District Action Reports. And we became involved in doing this when we were building our strategic plan, and we brought in Rob O'Donnell from the Department of Education to help us look at the goals, objectives, and initiatives of our plan and link them to our budget. And if we remember that year, that's when we worked on the student success budget. And even though that budget wasn't successful as an override, we were able to implement many things because we had prioritized. From that point in time, DESE developed their radar project. We applied to be a pilot member, and we were able to join that. So last year, a number of us attended their regular meetings at Worcester State University. We were assigned our very own consultant who worked with us on our plan, and as we built the budget for this year, that was very important to use that. They've also used us in the pilot to look at their reports and talk about what works and what doesn't work. And Christine and Pat were terrific this past school year in presenting in a variety of ways, most recently at MASBO at the Business Officials Conference, in which they talked about how we used radar and our strategic plan together to be able to build our budget, and looked at things such as the closing of the McQuon School and how we've looked at resource allocation. Because we have been successful with radar, we're going back at it again this year. We're actually going to be there on Friday afternoon at Worcester State, but we've also been invited to present at the MASC conference in early November, and we're going to be presenting there, and Chair Hayes is going to be presenting with us as well, talking about how this impacts the budget and what happens with school committee. So we're very excited to be involved with that, and I see that it's directly linked with actually all three pillars of our strategic plan. Secondly, we also have been able to become involved in a project known as EXCEL, which stands for Excellence in Social Emotional Learning. And this is a project that I learned about a year ago. And it is really looking at how we can ensure that our students are available for learning. And this project came about as a collaborative effort with the Rennie Center, Teachers 21, and a national organization that looks at social emotional learning. And what this required that we do was submit a proposal to them about how we were already doing things with SEL and how we could do it better. And you may recall that last year we had a Safe and Supportive Schools grant that we worked on that developed a plan for the district in terms of social emotional learning for the district and for schools. It's a plan. Now the plan needs to be realized, and we felt by applying for this, perhaps this would be a way that we could actually be certain that what we're doing in one school, we're doing in another, and that as we come to you as a committee and look for adjustment counselors, social workers, that we're very solid in what we're doing. So about 40 school districts applied for this, only 9 were selected, and we were very fortunate to be one of those. So we have the radar pilot, which I think links with all three of our pillars, and clearly the EXCEL project links very strongly with pillar number 1, every child, every day, with healthy minds and healthy bodies. The third endeavor that we're involved in is called OECD, which is called Organization for Economic Development. And this was an opportunity for us to have 15-year-old students tested in an international test. And you may remember that we did talk about this last year. OECD is part of PISA, which is an international assessment program, and you may be familiar with this one. They rank schools, or internationally ranking of schools, and they'll always tell you that Finland's at the top and Singapore's at the top. And when they looked at states, Massachusetts was at the top too. The last conversation that I had with our commissioner, and as you know, he passed away at the end of June, was a conversation when he called me last November and asked if Whitman Hanson would participate in this at no cost to the district. And it's a wonderful memory I have of him because he was a very aggressive commissioner, as some of you may remember. But to know that he knew Whitman Hanson, that he reached out to us and said, I think we'd like to have your district participate. So our students did participate in February. This summer, a team of us went to Natick High School with the other participating school districts. There are probably, maybe 8 to 10 who were selected to do this, and now we're looking at the results. So in the future, our directors are very involved with this, Jeff Simonak, Ruth Kerrigan as Director of Counseling, and we'll be reporting back to you what those results show us. We were very pleased in how Whitman Hanson did, and one of the most telling pieces is they looked at socioeconomics. And in the U.S., there is a large range between lower socioeconomic students, higher socioeconomic students, and their achievement. In some countries, it's very narrow. And so we're really interested in looking at what does that mean. One of the countries that has been extremely successful in doing this is Poland, and I've been invited to go to Poland and actually see what's going on there. So that's kind of an exciting thing that came from this as well. And if there are some things that we can learn, I think that would be even better. The other thing we saw in the results, and I don't think it's going to surprise anyone who's here, is when they did a regression curve as to where Whitman Hanson 15-year-olds should achieve based on socioeconomics of our two communities, Whitman Hanson achieved above the curve, which is what we always see, that even though we are not near the top or even near the middle, in per pupil expenditures, our taxpayers get a lot for their money, and our students are doing very, very well. This particular initiative ties very directly with Pillar 2 to ensure that we have a cohesive PK to 12 system. So these are all things that we're working on. One of the other pieces, of course, is the closing of the McQuon School. That's going to be very important. We've already talked about that tonight. I've also listed for you the number of things that I'm involved in as well, because I believe Whitman Hanson can only grow if we reach out and develop good partnerships with other school systems. I'll be on a NEASC visit in Hadley in October. We always benefit from those. I come back with new insights. And one of the most exciting things that happened is that we have been asked to present our strategic plan at the National Superintendent's Conference in Nashville in February. They're very excited to see what Massachusetts is doing. Lori Likas, Pat Dillon, and I put together a proposal, and it was accepted. So Whitman Hanson's going national in Nashville in February. So pretty excited about that. So there is so much going on this school year. It makes my head spin. We are in negotiations. We're going to be closing a school, opening another one. The list goes on. Oh, and we're looking at the regional agreement too. So if anyone gets bored, we've got plenty for people to do. So that's my letter. Any question on the first part of this? And I'm happy to answer. Okay. The next piece I did was really looking at his self-assessment. And what I try to do with this, and I find this kind of tough to do, is to go back and look at what we did last year, how we can get better. And I take the 4 standards that I'm evaluated on as a superintendent and also that our administrator evaluated on. And the first is instructional leadership. And we've had 2 years now with the PK to 12 directors of curriculum. I think we've made tremendous gains. I think we still have ways to go. There's a lot to be done. They had to learn elementary. That was a big, a lot for them to do. I think we've been concerned somewhat at the middle schools because they've really got to be balancing their time. So this year we're looking at how we can schedule meetings a little more intelligently. And then here at the high school as well, they have their responsibilities. Today we had the late start. So this year we're really going to be looking at visibility. We're going to be focusing on specific areas. We have new curriculum in math and science at the middle schools. We're going to be looking at that. No Atom, the science curriculum will now be K to 5. We've got big things to look at there. One of the things we learned when we looked at the OECD PISA results is that we're very concerned that our kids can read, but when you look at what's really in-depth reading in more complex text, we don't do that well. And neither do most schools in the U.S., but that's not good enough for Whitman Hanson, so that's something we're going to be looking at as well. So we're looking at visibility, cohesiveness. They've also been taking our curriculum, putting it into an electronic shell called Atlas Rubicon. They had PD that Pat arranged for them this summer to really become more efficient at doing that. So we have a ways to go. Do I think we're moving forward? Yes. And the directors will be presenting to the committee as we go through the school year. The second is management and operations. A lot of pieces going on here. Clearly the closing of a school, the decision to do that, trying to make sure we keep those pieces together. Hiring, I reported out on personnel. One of the big projects that Pat has been working on was the comprehensive emergency management plan. As I said yesterday, he presented on that. It's now going to be our challenge in the district as to how do we move forward with that. Pat's not going to be with us, but clearly we have an excellent document to work on. We need to be having a much more cohesive plan of how we do our drills in the district and move forward with that. I don't think we've done poorly in the past, but I think there's definitely room for improvement. The third one is family and community engagement. We use a variety of means of communication. Last year was the year of the tweet. Many of our administrators started using Twitter more. We began a new website, which I think has been successful. That also has the capacity to be translated into multiple languages, so that was a big improvement. But this is something we can always do better. Clearly, with closing a school, reconfiguring others, communication is going to be, and engagement of family and community, very big for us this year. The other piece is really involving our two towns in the budgeting process. We had one meeting June 12th, I believe. We need to continue that if we're going to really have the school district that we want to have. And the next one is professional culture, and I think we've had a lot of transitions. We need to pay a lot of attention to this. I'm excited about the initiatives I talked to you about, and I do think those things help with the culture as well. So that's just a basic self-assessment, and I used that as I was putting together the goals. So any question on that part, I'm happy to answer that. And then these are my proposed goals. Once again, we have 4, which is a whole lot better than 22, which I think we used to see in the past. The first one is ongoing. It is really looking once again at Pillar 2 as we look at our system of teaching and learning and really empowering our curriculum directors and our classroom teachers to ensure that we are providing a cohesive and equitable program to all of our students. Many of the specific we'll be looking at are professional development. I think we got off to a good start this year with the information I circulated at the last meeting, really listening to what staff is interested in learning about, trying to get those opportunities out to them. Our professional development budget has suffered dramatically. When you look at per pupil expenditures, we have kept teachers in classroom, and class size is not a problem right now. Professional development funding is, and we're trying to be as creative as possible. Yesterday I submitted our 3 federal grants, trying to eke out PD dollars from that. Kyle will have the opportunity to write a PD grant for special education. It's a real challenge for us, and it's something we want to work on and really involve all stakeholders in it. Improving how we're using Atlas Rubicon. It was kind of all over the place last year, and I think we're on a much better trajectory with that. Reading, as I mentioned earlier, and just an ongoing look at student achievement as we look at MCAS. Jeff talked about PSATs, SATs, APs. All of those are things we're going to be looking at this year. The second goal is really to look at all of the transitions that are going to be happening this year. In terms of McQuon School, we have a steering committee. We're working with the association. We're also going to be working with community stakeholders. This is a big one, and of course, the ultimate achievement will be doing it successfully and doing it with as little stress to people as possible. So it's a very specific goal and one that I'm going to take very, very seriously as a school district. The third one is to look at social emotional learning. Talk to you a bit with my letter that I wrote to you about the Excel network. Safe and Supportive Schools grant. We do have the services of Dr. Denny Howley this year, 1 day a week, and Denny's going to be real value added in helping us pull together how we work with student services. She's working closely with Kyle. Kyle's already started meeting with job-alike groups. I think you met with school psychologists so far and speech and language. So really looking at how we take the services for students. We had a conference, or actually a webinar today on the Excel Learning Network. We're going to have a team who will be working with us. Along with this partnership also comes our very own consultant who will look at what we have been doing at Whitman Hanson and making recommendations. And this is a 3-year endeavor as well. So those areas are something we take very seriously. And then the next piece is really looking at a long-term financial plan. I think today, looking at the grants we'd written, at the PD budget, Christine and I sat down and looked at the FY 17-18 budget. We owe our kids far more than level services. We just do. No-cost full-day kindergarten, 85% or more of school districts in Massachusetts have that. East Bridgewater did it this year, Plymouth the year before that. We're going to be the last one standing. And we are creating a haves and have-not system. We do have many more students in full-day K, but there's a tuition. We do have some scholarships. The half-day program, our teachers do the best they can with it. But by the time you get boots off in the winter and snack and a few things there, there's not as much teaching and learning time as our full-day students have. I think we need to really look at what we need for Whitman Hanson. This is why being part of Radar, I think, is incredibly important. As we go into negotiations, the issue of sustainability, how we can create the best school district possible. Areas of concern for me, foreign language, one Spanish teacher in each middle school. It's not enough for 21st century kids. There's a lot to be done. We know that the pot of money is limited, so we need to be extremely focused as we work with stakeholders and really try to move this district forward in terms of what we need. So I see that as a strong commitment that is certainly a goal I'm putting forth, but one that we're going to need everybody in this committee and here tonight and everyone else to really move forward with that. So those are my goals for this year, so I'm happy to discuss them, and then I'll be looking for your acceptance to move forward.
Discussion, anyone? I'd entertain them.
Just a quick one, no, one more
Sure.
question. I know for the opening of school for the teachers and things like that, you had a lot of teachers doing seminars and workshops and stuff. How did that work out?
It worked out very, very well. The way it began was this became an idea that we had in the conference room upstairs when I was working with the directors last March. And we have felt that teachers have been asking, well, we have a lot of technology, but how do you really use technology to improve teaching and learning? And we also found that while some people were very comfortable maybe using Google Docs, other people didn't really know how to do that. So the directors put together a survey, sent it out to our staff, got input from them in terms of what they were interested in. We also sent out information to them. If you would like to teach one of these programs, we'd be happy to do that, and we'll compensate you. So we got a lot of people teaching the sessions as well, and they offered 2 essentially 1-hour sessions. For teachers who had new curriculums such as math and science at the middle school, they didn't get any choices. But for other people, they had lots of choices. And I had the opportunity to go to one that was done here at the high school, and it was just great, because in that were kindergarten teachers, reading specialists, high school content teachers, and they're looking now to do this again for our other PD days as we move throughout the school year. So I think it went well. As I said, we don't have a lot of PD time. We have some, 4 early release days for PD, but with our staggered openings at the elementary, we only have a little bit of time where we actually have everyone together. So it's a big focus, Robbie. But I do think the directors are working really diligently to make this meaningful to people.
Well, no, I thought it was a great idea when I heard about it, because you've got a lot of talented staff people that can contribute a lot of stuff to other staff people across, literally from, one school to the next and different grade levels and whatnot. If you could get somebody to show us how to run the Promethean board at the fire station, that would be great.
Oh, we actually could do
We've had
that.
that up there for 5 years, and
we
I
would
still
be-
can't work PowerPoint on it.
Okay, we can do that.
But no, I mean, I heard that and I thought that was actually a great idea.
Okay,
You
great.
guys thought outside the box.
I think it worked well. We got good
Yeah.
feedback. I don't know, you got some feedback too, Kevin, I bet.
Yeah, it was wonderful. I heard from quite a few staff members. This is really the first time I think we've ever done something like this to this extent. I was involved in a PowerPoint class, kind of an advanced PowerPoint class put on by one of the teachers at the high school. Phenomenal. And we get a chance to kind of talk informally. This was great. You kind of see it unfold. And then the other one was a program called Kahoot, which is going to be really handy, I think. It's really taken off, I think, at some of the elementary and middle school levels. It's a kind of an interactive quiz program in which you can kind of compete individually, compete against groups, chance for reflection, answers show up on the board, so it's definitely some interactive computer web stuff. So that is great, enjoyed it thoroughly.
Excellent.
Yeah, I think-
Excellent.
Yeah, I think it was successful. We've gotten feedback. They had the opportunity to give them feedback on what worked, what didn't work. And now for the one, I believe it's October 20th, I met with them yesterday. We're going to meet, Rosman and I met with them. We're going to meet with them again next week. And they're really trying to sort out what they're going to offer for the October one. So, they're going to be weaving content more into it as the year goes on as well, really listening to what people need.
We had a virtual team today with the social studies. Paul was asking us today, you know, what would you like to go forward? So,
Yeah.
and we're giving him some suggestions.
That's great, because it really needs to be,
Carry all the direction we're doing that.
Excellent, that's
yeah,
great.
really needs to be teacher-focused, and I think we're making some gains here.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I entertain a motion to accept Bruce goals as read.
Motion. Second.
Any further discussion? We don't have Fred with us anymore. He did hang up, so we can go. All those in favor?
Okay, great.
Unanimous.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, where are we?
Budget report.
Okay, Christine.
Okay, in your packet that was on the table that Michelle left for you. We'll start with the revenue.
I didn't get one.
Big packet?
Yeah, it's in the big
Oh,
stack.
it's in the big stack?
Yes.
Yeah, the
Oh, I'm
one
so
with the
sorry.
insurance stuff on the
Thank
top.
you.
Yeah.
It's actually the second page.
Page 2.
Okay.
So this is the revenue through August. So the first column you see is the original appropriation, what we anticipate receiving in revenue. Any transfers or adjustments, which there is not any as of today. So that, then you have the third column, which is the revised budget. The fourth column is year-to-date expended, which is actually the amount of money that's been taken in to date. And the last column available budget is what we anticipate receiving by the end of the year. If you look at the operating assessment and non-mandated busing, we've received one payment in August from both towns for the operating assessment as well as the non-mandated busing. We also have received in full the high school capital debt payment from them. Hanson Technology, we anticipate receiving in October. Medicaid reimbursement, we have not received anything as of to date. Chapter 70, we have received two payments, July and August. Charter school reimbursement, this is new this year. They're going to be reimbursing us monthly, like Chapter 70. So we received 2 months.
Christine, just, excuse me for interrupting.
Sure.
Previously, the charter school reimbursement was done differently.
That is correct. We only got 2 payments a year, one in January and one in June.
Yeah, so now they're going to do it monthly?
Monthly.
Okay.
That's
Thank you.
correct. And it's based on last year, and then what will happen as the year progresses, we'll catch up by our May and June payment.
Exactly. Okay, thank you.
Which
Thought
could
I read that.
which could go either way. We could get more or a little bit less. Depends
That's
on-
all right, as long as it washes out at the end instead of getting it in 2 payments.
Right,
Because
exactly.
it gets juggled around.
Right, and the cash flow, again, this is going to help the cash flow.
Exactly.
Chapter 71, which is the transportation reimbursement, we won't see a payment until January or February because that is based on FY17 expenditures, which is reported on the end of the year report, which they get to them in October. So it's typically January or February, we get one payment, and then we get the second payment in June for transportation. There's no way, I don't know how they would ever be able to do that on a monthly basis because we don't actually report the expenditure for FY17 until the end of October. Now, the next one is the homeless transportation reimbursement, which is actually based on FY16 numbers. It came in July. We were hoping it would come in the end of June, but it didn't come in until July. So it was a little bit more than what we anticipated, but it was still only 35% reimbursement of what we actually spent for homeless transportation in FY16.
On 100% guaranteed reimbursement.
Subject to appropriation.
Pay raises took that out of options.
The next one is interesting, the interest income. David Leary had anticipated $30,000 in interest income, and we've already received just over $12,000 in interest income, which is like 40% of what we anticipated. That's for 2 reasons. The rate of return on one of the bank accounts is higher than it was in previous years, and also, we received the assessments in August. So August, that particular account had more money sitting in there in August than before. Circuit breaker, we haven't made the transfer, and the unreserved surplus is the excess and deficiency, which we have not made the transfer as of yet. Any questions?
Okay.
The next one that has several pages is the actual expenditures report, set up the same way as the revenue. The first column is the original appropriation. The second column would be transfers and/or adjustments. We've not voted any transfers for FY18 to date. So the third column is the revised budget. The year-to-date is the actual expended accounts. So if you look at Indian head teacher salary, we have not encumbered the salaries for the teachers as of yet. Ruth had alluded to that we have all these new hires, so once they're all completely in the system, which will probably be next month's report, you'll be able to see the encumbrances for all the, for the salary lines. So these are broken down by school. Then you have any encumbrances, so any products that we've ordered or services that we have not paid for yet. And then the last column, of course, shows you your available budget. So it starts with Indian Head, it goes McQuon. Third page, it shows Conley. Fourth page shows Duval, Whitman Middle School. Page 4 is Hanson Middle School. Page 5 gives you high school. Then it goes into, on page 6, goes into the district-wide accounts. This is how we report it. We report to, on the end of the year, report to the Department of Ed. We report by school and then by district. Any questions? There's nothing alarming to report at this time, so.
Well, it's the very beginning of the year. The
Right.
expenditures are minimal and the transfers, I mean,
Right.
we've only been at it 2 weeks.
Right, and we haven't encumbered the salaries, which is, you know,
Exactly.
70% of our budget.
That happens, yes.
Down the road, within the next month to 2 months, you'll get a better picture of exactly what's going on in the district because the encumbered amounts will start to grow
You're exactly right.
and you'll see what's spread out across the total budget. Questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any questions for Ruth? That concludes her report. Okay, old business. We need to reschedule the budget FY 2018-19 school committee with the towns of Whitman and Hanson. We could call it the intermunicipal group or anything that you'd like to call. But we need to get back together with the people of the town and all the residents that want to come to the meetings and do some brainstorming on a long-term. As we discussed in years past, we had the last meeting, I believe, was in June.
June 12th.
June 12th.
The 12th, and then we were going to get going in September, and September, just the dates weren't working, so we need to set a date in October. Now, obviously, we have to stay away from the school committee meeting, which I announced earlier, I believe, as the 12th.
18th.
Pardon me?
October 18th.
October 18th, yeah.
So, is everybody, we have to just set a date, and those that come, and those that, because we tried to do some of that in September, and we found there's too many people involved to make everybody completely, totally. So we've got to set it up for, does the beginning of October look all right?
Well, we've got the Hanson Town meeting is the 2nd of October. The next, if we did Mondays, the next one's Columbus Day, and then the next would be the 16th, if you did a Monday night, which is what we did in the
What's
past.
the 11th look like?
I'm not here.
Okay,
That's why we changed school committee.
okay. October 16th? Does that sound good?
That would be
I mean,
on
we have to come up
Monday.
with a date, it's a Monday night.
Yeah, then there's, yeah, that might work, or you could do a Thursday, if you wanted to do something like that. We have the 5th.
Why don't we shoot for the 16th? Yes, Dawn. Come on up. Come on up.
On my calendar, Panther Ed Trust has a meeting that night on Monday, the 16th of October. I don't know if that's going to interfere.
Okay,
Panther Ed Trust is the 16th?
yeah. Do you know
Okay.
what time and how long it,
7 PM,
yeah,
but I
okay.
don't know where or when.
Thanks.
I mean, you could do a Thursday night if you wanted to do something like that.
What's the date for the Thursday?
That would be the 19th, be the night after a school committee meeting.
It's the night right after school committee? I'm okay with it.
I can't hear you.
October 5th.
October 5th.
That would be another, that's flu shot day.
That is flu shot day.
Yeah, well, you could do the 5th if you want to get it out there earlier. I don't
I'm
know.
okay with it.
I think that's fine.
All right, let's set it for the 5th.
Then you're not back-to-back on meetings either.
Right,
It's
well,
probably better.
that becomes problematic for some people that have to get babysitters.
And
October 5th?
October 5th,
and
we'll
it would be
notify.
here,
What
right?
time?
And Michelle, can you notify all the,
We did 7, did we do,
We did 6, I thought, or 6:30.
oh, hold on, I can find out.
I think it was
Still on.
7.
I want to say it was 7, yeah,
We figured everybody be done with dinner by
Thursday.
then.
yeah. I think 7's probably better.
So October the 5th, at 7 o'clock, for those of you that would like to attend that may be watching this evening's meeting, we will be meeting again with town officials and anyone else that would like to come and try to hash out some long-range plan for
Yeah, well, I think it's
the
good.
And where will we meet, Mr.
We will be
Chairman?
meeting here in the
Right here,
library.
okay.
And we tried to set a time at an hour and a half
I think that's smart.
to
Yep.
keep the meeting moving along, and that way nobody is too late and we don't get redundant. So anyone that would like to come, again, it's October 5th at 7 o'clock. We encourage everyone to attend. And we'll be working on some of that stuff that we have to talk about.
Sounds good.
Okay?
Question?
All right. McQuon's closing update.
Bob?
I'm sorry?
Are we going to stay with that particular format? I'm just thinking if it's a very large group, or will we break into subcommittees?
I think, Bob, my thought process on it would be that we need to set a direction. We can't, I'm speaking for me now, seeing as you asked the question, we're just sitting here. I think we kind of hashed out everything that we could have at the last meeting. Now we need to determine where do we go from here? How do we get a long-term process? Maybe and I'm just throwing this out. This isn't that, maybe it needs to be a percentage for the rebuilding, but we need to come up with something that we can do yearly, that the towns can also do, and that's palatable and doesn't kill anyone. And I think we need to head in that direction. I don't see it lasting into a third meeting if we just come back to a meeting and all complain about what we didn't have.
Yeah,
I
you're
think
right.
we have to
need
say,
a
we
plan.
know where we were, and let's head in a direction.
So, I guess my question is, once we have that meeting on the 5th, would we create some type of committee to sort of shrink the participation? In other words, have parents, school committee, so on and so forth, but a smaller amount, because if we, in my opinion, if we continue to do a large open meeting like that all the time, I don't know what would really get accomplished. And then have that meeting come back to an open meeting. I'm just thinking what would be the most effective way to get
Well,
that
I
done.
think if we look at the participation in meeting number 2, how many people participate, it may give us a better guide on where we're going to go as a committee.
Okay.
You know, as what you're talking about, let's say, and hypothetically, again, there's no chair to this, but somebody has to guide it along. There might be both town administrators, a couple of parents, a couple of school committee members, some other members at large, maybe a couple of teachers.
Right.
You know, and because smaller groups obviously are less cumbersome than larger groups.
Okay, all right.
So I'm not saying this is my vision, but it's part of what we're discussing.
Right, I just think it needs to be all-inclusive, but it has to be on a smaller scale than
Yeah,
what it's been.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think if it continues to be huge,
We won't get any.
Nothing.
we won't get anywhere.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so it's October 5th. Update on closing of McQuon?
Right, this is an agenda item we're going to keep on here for every single meeting. So I just asked Pat and Kyle to provide any updates for the committee at this time.
In the facilities meeting, we kind of recapped our readout last week again. We met over the summer to discuss considerations and tasks associated with the 4 phases. And as a reminder, we identified one of the initial decisions was to move the middle school to the high school. We made the recommendation to the school committee last week that the next set of major decisions is an analysis and a decision on where the special ed programs should be located. And then tomorrow, we're meeting again, myself, the superintendent, Kyle, Christine, and Rosalind Dorrance, who you just met, to go through the project tracker in each of those 4 phases so that everybody's on the same sheet of music. So I don't know if Kyle has anything to add.
No, just I know that we emphasize the special ed programs as being one of the next moves that we need to make. So some of those monthly meetings that I'm trying to hold with the school's psychologists, the nurses, the speech pathologists, try to get some buy-in of what the programs will actually look at, like, not just where they'll go. And that is going to branch off in the future of can students now come back to the district that are outplaced because we have services better located or better services. So we're looking at those pieces as we're looking at moving them as well.
We may want to take a time, and I understand that people should probably come to the school committee and ask about the closing of McQuon, but there's a lot of chatter around town in the district that possibly maybe we should have a meeting with the principals and the people that, and some administrators, invite parents to give them a better snapshot of exactly what's going on, because people, I'm hearing the chatter, and I'm sure the members are, and probably some of the teachers in the district are, and those that come will get a better snapshot of what's going on. I know it's another meeting, but transparency and initial telling them might take away some of the jitters of what's happening. I mean, I know there's been a million questions asked of me, and one thing was, what do we do with 5th graders that are going to Hanson Middle? There's no playground.
Yep.
You know,
You said yes.
so that may sound
Yeah.
insignificant to some, but the question was asked. So
How are
some
you
of-
going to address it?
Right, some
yeah.
of those questions need to be addressed, and I think that possibly if we have one night dedicated
Yeah, we've been working on that.
to that. No,
Yeah.
it was just a suggestion.
Yeah, it's going to
'cause I'm-
happen this fall.
I want to have an informational meeting at the
Yeah.
McQuon
Yeah,
School.
and really so that we can see if there are things that we haven't thought of as well.
Exactly, like
Yeah.
a brainstorming night.
Right, and,
Just to keep everybody informed.
Right, and I would think after the meeting tomorrow, we'll have a pretty good sense of what
Yeah,
that's going to look
no, I'm just adding my 2 cents worth
No.
of what it, because I'm getting the questions.
Yeah, we are too. Yep.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
We'll keep it on the agenda, though, all year long.
There is a change to the job description of the teacher leader job description, and Ruth will go over that quickly with you.
Essentially, we've had a teacher leader job description for quite some time. This was written back maybe 2005, 2006, somewhere along there. But with the curriculum directors, we wanted to change the focus on that, also how we look at curriculum as well. So the job description we had was antiquated, so we just changed, it's just a bit of a language change to include the curriculum directors. But we felt it was enough of a change that we wanted to have a more accurate job description on file. That's it.
And entertain a motion to accept as written.
So moved. Second.
Discussion. All those in favor? Oh, go ahead, Bob.
So these jobs are already there, it's just a matter of...
Yeah, and,
Okay.
right, and we post them annually, and, right, it's already there, we've been doing it for years, but we've had different, we didn't have the directors being involved at the elementary level until the last 2 years, so we felt this needed to reflect that.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? I have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Unanimous, thank you.
Thank you.
The policy subcommittee met, and in your packet, you'll see that there are some removals of redundant and unnecessary policies. They met on the 6th and reviewed the recommendations of the Mass Associations of School Committees. Declare identified policies as redundant and no longer necessary. Upon review of the policy subcommittee, recommends that the regional school committee vote to remove the policies listed below from the policy manual. Vendor relations, textbook selection, which included IJ instructional manuals, supplementary manuals, which also included IJ instructional manuals, the tobacco policy, which included JICH, alcohol, tobacco, and drug use prohibited, student records, which is available on the DESI website, and complaints about materials, including KE public complaints, needed to be removed on the recommendation of Mass Association of School Committees. I'd entertain a motion to accept.
Motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous, and thank you to the policy subcommittee. We need to appoint someone as a alternate, which would be Mary Jo Lipson for Mayflower Municipal Health Group, board representative. I'd entertain a motion to do so.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Mary Jo works here in the district currently, so it's no added expenses.
She's my alternate, I'm the representative, and if for some reason I can't be there, Mary Jo.
You're planning on not attending, Chris?
No, I go to all the meetings, but just in case.
Because in that case, we're not going to appoint her.
No, I'm actually on the FinCom committee this year for Mayflower, and I typically go to all the steering committee meetings.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous? Thank you. Okay, we have some stuff to declare as surplus. It is lengthy, so I'm just going to say, to whom it may concern, the English department would like to declare the following materials surplus as they are either outdated or in poor condition. There are several, so I would entertain a motion to accept as you have received in your packet, as printed.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? As you can see, a lot of it dates back into the 70s. Although, there's one in here from 61.
Just a quick question. Is there a normal procedure for what happens to books that become surplus?
Yeah, it's a variety of things. We've often given them to, there was one week where we were sending them to countries where they need these kind of things. So they're not just dumped.
Of course, yeah, I
They're
figured.
used,
Makes sense, yeah.
given away and used as they can be.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Discussion any further? All those in favor? Unanimous? Thank you.
There's one more,
There's
sir.
another surplus, Bob.
I didn't see it.
It's in the handout, the very last page.
It's like some mop stuff. And, there.
Here you go.
Okay, to whom it may concern, the Facilities Department would like to declare the following custodial equipment as surplus. They are either outdated, in poor condition, or out of order, and no longer used by the Whitman Hanson Regional School District. 1953 Navy surplus dentist chair, 12 custodian carts, 6 wax-covered mop buckets, and 3 non-working floor fans. Sincerely, Ernie Sandler.
Is this how Ernie gets his guys to work? That
Ernie was pulling teeth. It was up until a few years ago.
I just said, too bad we still don't have the haunted house at the middle school. I'm sure we can-
Yeah.
This thing is still in its original box,
Really?
Oh, my.
Where is it?
in the shed,
Is it?
in the, yeah. You want it?
No.
I'd entertain a motion to declare these items as surplus.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
God love him.
All those in favor? Unanimous. Thank you. We have nothing to accept as gifts. We have no field.
One.
Yeah, we do.
It's in the handout. It's in the new handout.
Oh, boy. I'm the only one who didn't get it.
Yeah, it's in this big old packet.
Here.
In the budget, with the budget.
Yeah, it was what, the insurance stuff was on the top.
Mrs.
Okay, we
Lindbergh
can use mine.
Here we go.
As long as I can find it. Here we go, sports medicine.
I would, to whom it may concern, I'd like to request the school committee approve a donation from Collins Sports Medicine of 4 boxes of tape valued at $225 for use in the sports medicine class being taught first and second semester. Thank you. Lexi Watkins, athletic trainer and teacher at Whitman Hanson. I'd entertain a motion to accept.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous.
That's right.
Okay. I have one field trip request. Oh, I have more than one. I have a couple. Experimental Learning and Leadership Internship Program. They'll be departing from school and arriving back on the same day. They're going to the University of Rhode Island. Emerging Leaders Workshop and Challenge Course, 32 students, 1 chaperone. They do not need a school nurse, as a nurse is provided. Is it handicapped accessible? Yes. I'd entertain a motion to accept.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Just one, the cost of district, 1,000, where does that come from?
I'm sorry, dear?
The cost of district is $1,000.
It's $20 per student, and the cost of the district is $1,000.
Where's the 1,000 come from?
From the high school budget.
High school budget?
It's $20 a student, so I'm figuring he said cost of district.
Looks like $640 to me.
Yep.
So you usually don't see any money in a cost of district for us, so.
If there's 32 students, it looks more like $640. I think they just threw that in as a general.
Right, and it's, pardon me? They need a bus, and it's probably coming out of student activities. He just didn't check off revolving account.
Okay. I have a motion to accept and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Thank you. This is one that we do every year. It's the Habitat for Humanity. It's October 5th through the 6th. It happens right here at the high school. It's the Shantytown fundraiser. It's overnight. They're usually under the overhang. I'm assuming they're going to be doing the same outside the gym. There's about 40 students involved. There are 6 chaperones and more to be determined. They are not going anywhere, and they're not requesting a school nurse. I'd entertain a motion to accept.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. This is something that they do.
This is a good time frame for that budget meeting. Shantytown right outside, need money.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll be able to witness that firsthand.
Right.
Any further discussion? I have a motion and a second, correct? You have a motion and a second, Michelle?
Seconded.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous, thank you. That's yours. Okay, reports from subcommittees. Policy Subcommittee.
Covered
We
already.
met.
They met?
And you saw recommendations, so
You heard earlier, we accepted some revisions, so thank you to the Policy
we're meeting
Subcommittee.
again.
We're going to meet again. What MASC did is they went through policies where wording needs to be updated and changed. So we went through redundant policies when we met recently. On October 4th, we're going to look at policies that have been revised or changed. We're going to get Chad to set up 2 screens for us so we can do comparisons. And then we also have a policy on gender equity, and I had to call Attorney Waugh to get some direction on that, which I've done. And we'll be meeting again on the 4th to look at that policy as well.
Okay. Facilities and capital improvements, I know there was a committee meeting. Mr. Small, as you know, is not here this evening, but I believe that, Dan, would you like
Want to
to?
report?
Yeah, we have two things we wanted to bring back to the committee. One being the lighting project for the tennis courts. This is going to be, the work will be completed by the South Shore Tech students. We just have to get the paperwork into them. It's $15,000 that was left over in the budget. We're going to use another $20,000 out of the, which fund was it?
Building use, which is a revolving fund.
So we don't have to go back to the towns to say, we'd like to have an additional funding. I mean, this is the only courts that we have in both towns, so, well used already. The other good thing that was pointed out, it's not like it's at a specific school, it's in the district school, so. We'd like to bring that back up here to be voted on to proceed with that, so Ernie can get Social Tech paperwork in. And that way there, they can get working on putting the lightings back up there.
Entertain a motion to accept as Mr. Cullity just read to us.
So moved?
Second.
Discussion?
Yeah. What kind of lighting? Is there going to be on a timer, like from 7 to something?
There won't be a timer like it's on from 7 to whatever. There'll be a dial down there. They can, set it for like an hour or something like that, and it will shut off.
So who controls that?
The person playing.
The person that goes down to play.
Okay, all right.
I suggested let's put some quarters in, but
That didn't go over big?
Didn't we light the courts before previously?
Yes.
There were
Was-
lights.
Was there feedback on that? That was,
Well,
like, people used it?
yeah,
Yeah, a lot
and
of it.
since these new courts have been in, if you drive by, they're being used almost constantly. So
Right.
I think, this time of year when it's starting to get dark, but it's still nice enough out to play, we're going to see it used, and then in the spring again.
When I pulled in tonight, former school committee member Susan McSweeney and her husband were all playing,
Is that right? It's getting
Yep.
dark, too? Yeah,
so.
yep.
and we had a second
Wait a
project that
minute,
we're.
any further discussion on the lights? All those in favor?
Oh, that's great.
Thank you. Sorry for the interruption.
Nope, forgot. Conley School Outdoor Classroom Project came to us. Basically gonna, in the courtyard, and this will be fully funded by the PAC. And this will be another South Shore Tech project, which they will like, because it gives them a chance to do work, like gable work that they don't normally see, so they'll be able to show their students how to do this gable roofing, specialized and stuff like that. Diagram there. This will be done at the Conway School in the courtyard and fully funded by the PAC, so we'll give them some good use out there. And we wanted to bring that up to get voted so they can proceed with that. The town has been told about it, and we didn't hear anything back from them, so.
I'd entertain a motion to accept.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion? For those of you that haven't been to the Conley recently, this courtyard has been, it was kind of in a shambles a few years back, and they have developed it with volunteer money and several volunteers. It is beautiful. I mean, they took a space that was just kind of and now it's gorgeous, and this is just going to be one more thing to add. It's really nice. I've been up there quite a few times. It's beautiful. So, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Great.
Unanimous. Thank you.
And that's all we had to bring back. So.
Any questions for Dan? Thank you. Legislative update?
Nothing as of right now.
Plymouth Area Collaborative?
We haven't met since our last meeting in August, but we do resume in October.
Negotiations Subcommittee. Negotiations are going to be started soon. We are going to be doing ground rules. I'm waiting to receive a letter, which I'm informed that we will be receiving in the next few days. And then we will set up ground rules for anyone that wants to attend. It's very, very quick and normal, and then we'll go right into negotiations, so that's coming up. And hopefully we can get right through it and move on, and I'm looking forward to it, and I think it's going to be quick and enriching. Any questions about negotiations? And we did find out, we talked about how many people can be on negotiation subcommittee. We spoke with the attorneys, and it cannot be a quorum, it has to be 5. So we're going to have to be discussing who's going to drop out of it. We'll kind of work on that, and we'll get back to you with how that's going to go. Because if you have more than 5 in negotiations, it is considered a vote.
How many do we have on negotiations?
6.
Oh, good Lord.
So, we're going to have to rethink that, because we did speak to the attorneys, and you have to stay under a quorum, which is all good, that's why we have them. So, we'll take care of that.
Just in my experience, the more people you have in it, the muddier it gets. So the
Exactly.
smaller is better. Just my 2 cents on that.
And the Regional Agreement Committee hasn't met, but the meeting is set for the 25th of September at 6 PM to get started on the regional agreement. So we're going to update that as we go along, and we've got that going on. Any questions about any subcommittee reports? I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, all those in favor? Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.